Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today we're diving into a filing by Udemy, and let me tell you, it's a real page turner filled with corporate drama. Okay, maybe not exactly drama, but definitely some important changes that could affect the company's future. We'll look at who's in charge, how they're doing financially, and biggest of all, a big change to protect some important people at the company. If you appreciate getting straight insights from corporate documents, make sure you're subscribed. We also have a Discord community linked in the description below, so come join us. So what is this filing about? In simple terms, it's a report about what happened at Udemy's annual meeting in June of 2025. They voted on some important things like who gets to be on the board of directors, whether to keep using Deloitte as their accounting firm, the pay of the top executives, and the big change about protecting officers of the company. Let's dig in. First up, a change to Udemy's rule book or articles of incorporation. This is a huge deal because it means they've decided to limit the personal liability of some of their officers. Basically, this means that if something goes wrong, these officers could be shielded from being sued personally. This is allowed by Delaware law, which is where Udemy is incorporated. What does this mean? Well, some would say this change is designed to attract and keep talented executives who might be worried about personal lawsuits. But some would say if the executives weren't doing a good job for the company, they should be responsible. Now let's talk about the annual meeting. They held it on June 16 in 2025. Apparently, a lot of shares were represented, about 85.6% of all the shares. That's a good sign because it shows that shareholders are paying attention and participating in the company's decisions. So what exactly did they vote on? First, they elected directors to the board. Basically, these are the people who help guide the company's overall strategy. They elected 2 directors for a term that lasts until the 2028 meeting. Here's how that vote broke down. Sohaib Abbasi got about 100.5 million votes for, but about 2 million votes were withheld and about 24.7 million were not voted at all by brokers. Heather Hiles got about of 90.7 million were not voted at all by brokers. Heather Hiles got about 99 million votes were valid, and again the same amount, 24.7 million, were not voted at all by brokers. Broker non-votes basically mean that brokers holding shares for their clients didn't get instructions on how to vote, so they didn't vote at all. Next, they voted on whether to keep using Deloitte and to sell as their independent accounting firm. This is a pretty standard thing for companies to do. The results there was about 126.2 million votes for keeping Deloitte and Touche to 291,488 votes against and about 873 abstentions, meaning they didn't vote either way. The shareholders also voted on the compensation or pay of Udemy's top executives. This vote isn't binding, meaning the company doesn't have to listen to what the shareholders say, but it's a good way to get a sense of whether people are happy with how much the executives are getting paid. About 101 million were for the executive compensation. About 1.3 million were against it, and about 306,000 abstained. And finally, shareholders voted on that big change to protect certain officers from liability. This one's really important because it could have a big effect on how the company is run. The outcome of that was about 100.5 million votes for the change, 1.7 million against, and about 315,000 abstentions. So it happened. Now, let's talk about the exhibits. The filing included the actual document that changes the rulebook to protect officers of the company. If you wanted to read it, you would look for Exhibit 3.1. So, what does all of this mean for Udemy? Well, there's a few things to pull out. The shareholders seem pretty engaged given the high percentage of shares that were represented at the meeting. Keeping Deloitte as their accounting firm seems like a safe, steady choice. There was no controversy about it. The company's able to protect its officers and reduce their personal liability, so we'll see if this helps them attract and retain talent. Now let's step back and look at the bigger picture. Udemy is a popular online learning platform, but they face serious competition from other big players in the online learning world. Keeping costs down, attracting new instructors, and making sure their courses stay relevant are going to be super important for them to succeed. It is a tough climate right now for online learning, and it is getting more challenging every year. Having said all that, Udemy's pretty solid. The decisions made at the annual meeting seem like responsible choices. Of course, the future is always uncertain, and Udemy will have to keep working hard to stay ahead of the competition. Alright, that's our breakdown of Udemy's latest filing. What's your take on these decisions and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you appreciate getting straight insights from corporate documents, make sure you're subscribed. We also have a Discord community linked in the description below, so come join us. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Thanks for watching. See you next time.